Short and sweet. Call the North Plains regular planning commission meeting for January the 13th order.
That's December.
Excuse me, December. I've already moved it
We
off.
skipped over
December
Christmas,
the
sir.
13th to order at 7 o'clock. I did a little modification to the agenda that I'm using and changed things around a little bit. Call to orders number 1, and then we'll stand number 2 for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3 will be the roll call.
Thank you. Chair King,
Here.
Vice Chair Labonte. Here. Commissioner House.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioners Ken Odell and Van Dommelen are excused tonight, and your ex officio is Counselor James Stage.
Who is here?
Thank you very much.
Just let the record show we do have a quorum. Okay, so thank you. I'm gonna move past the officer election because that's regular business and move to our item, which is now number 4, is public comments. And this time is available for anyone in the audience or in the Zoom that wishes to discuss commission business that is not on the agenda. So, Andreas, if you want to.
And you'll have to, now you screw the top. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so
And then push it up, I think, to turn it on.
Yep.
Yeah.
just so we understand that Andreas has made an application, but the city hasn't posted the vacancy or
We
didn't
have-
post the vacancy at the time.
Right, he's,
So we have to wait until things are through that process before we can actually review your application. So we won't be making any recommendation today. But we understood that you could not be at the January, so we wanted to give you the opportunity. That's why, one of the reasons I wanted to have this meeting in December. So go ahead.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. My name is Andreas Pradner, and I'm here today to express my interest in serving on the planning commission. I would like to thank you all for accommodating my interview for today, as I will be traveling out of state for the holidays. My family and I have lived in North Plains now for a little over a year in the new Greenfield development. And it was a great experience overall being part of this community. Professionally, I have a background in software development, and I've been a business owner for over 5 years now, contracting for a large US enterprise. I also have experience serving on a nonprofit board, as a nonprofit board member for the past 4 years and working with them to increase donor engagement and communication. But I believe most of you recognize me probably from the multiple conversations this planning commission had over the course of the year with residents of the Greenhill community. That has been a pivotal moment and experience for me as I started getting involved in the civic aspect of life. I realized I enjoy research and community engagement and working towards the betterment of our community through all the different perspectives that we bring together. Recently, I began to inform myself even more on what it means to be a member of the planning commission by talking with acquaintances on other boards in neighboring cities, and also by reading documentation. I think reading documentation, and there's a specific guide created for planning commissioners called, I think I'm here, the planning commissioners guide, which I found really fascinating. I'm still in the process of finishing that. Yeah, very insightful. And while I still have a lot to learn, I'm excited about the possibility of serving on this commission and working with together with everybody on the board and the supporting staff for the betterment of our community. I would like to thank you for considering my application. I know you will make recommendations next month at the next month meeting, and I hope to work with you in the future. If you have any questions, or I'll be happy to answer those.
Any questions or comments?
Thank you for being so eager with your application and for
published.
Yeah, it took a bit of work to figure out when's the right time to do it and like finding the information, but I know now, so.
Thanks. And I appreciate that. Like I said, we will be looking at them at our January meeting. We haven't made a determination if we'll be considering or recommending from there, but wanted to at least give you the opportunity to meet with us and if we had any questions.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, assuming we have no one else on Zoom.
We do not.
We do not.
Commissioner Miller, then we'll move on to now what I have as item number 5, which is approval of the minutes. And that is for November the 8th. Are there any changes, corrections? I'll entertain a motion.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
Since there's basically 2 of us to make a motion in a second, and I was absent, but I did listen to the audio.
Even if you're absent, you can still make the motion, as long as you read the minutes. Yep. You-
Mhm.
Okay.
Even if you were not in attendance, as long as you read the minutes or listened to the audio, you
Okay.
can make the motion.
I'll make a motion to to approve the November 8th, 2023 minutes as written.
Who was second? Second. Okay.
The only commissioner down there.
Just want to make sure it wasn't, all I did was hear somebody say second. So it's been moved by Commissioner Levante, seconded by Commissioner Hout for approval of the November 8th minutes as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, minutes are approved. Thank you. Okay, so now we'll move on to item number 6, which is the election of officers for 2024. We are going to be nominating and electing for the vice chair and for the chair. We'll open the nominations for the position of chair.
I nominate Stuart King.
Is there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the nominations. All those in favor of Commissioner King remaining at the chair position?
Aye.
So that's 3, so there's none opposed. Okay, so we'll open the nominations for the vice chair position.
I nominate Heather Levante for vice chair.
We don't need a second on nominations, do we?
No, you just take a vote.
That's what I thought. Are there any other nominations? Okay, I'll close the nominations for the position of vice chair. All those in favor of Commissioner Levante serving as the vice chair? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so it's unanimous. We'll move on to now item, which I'm calling number 7, is unfinished business.
Yes, thank you, Chair King. One thing we have that's unfinished is our UGB expansion. So I'll give you a quick update on that. Some of you may know where that sits right now, but both the Board of County Commissioners and their Planning Commission have continued their hearings on our UGB expansion into June and July, respectively. So they're holding off until there is a vote on the referendum. So unfortunately, that is not going to be resolved until next year. The other piece of unfinished business that we have is the sign code that we've been working on. We canceled the work session today, so look forward to picking that back up in January. We've had some communication on how far to go with some things. We're going to make some suggestions on some residential changes because we took out some sign definitions that were included into the residential chapter. And so we'll raise that up with the city council to see if they still want to address those issues before we determine how we're going to notice everything. So we'll just put a complete package together and let the council decide how they want to move forward with the noticing of that. It was primarily the column signs. We eliminated that from the code. And so there were column signs that were allowed in the residential zone. You may see that in my latest update to the sign code there. Another one we'll have to talk about in January is we have a definition for rooftop signs. But if you look at our code in every zoning district, they're exempted, they're not allowed. So you might be something you want to think about before we pick it up the next time is what do you want to do with rooftop signs? Do you want to consider them in certain zoning districts or eliminate them from the code and the definition, since right now they're not allowed in any zone? But those are the two pieces of unfinished business that we have right now.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Questions?
On the residential codes for the column signs, do we currently have any properties that have a column sign in the residential zone?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't driven around all the subdivisions to really take a look at it, but the ones that would jump out are the newest ones. Because I've walked pretty much the core of the city pretty regularly, and I don't recall seeing any column signs in those areas. The one sign that has crept up every now and again in the residential area is the windblown, the blows, those ones with the arms. So we see those every now and again pop up. They don't stay long. They go up maybe on the weekend and then they're back down. So it's more seems to be like a for fun type of a thing.
Well, they are fun.
They're fun.
waving.
Yeah. They look pretty funny when they're blowing around.
As long as they're not blowing down the road.
I'm not sure if you saw that, but there is a hamburger in Newburgh, a big old
I
blow
saw
up
that, yeah.
that blew all the way down.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the unfinished business? Hearing none, move on to item number 8 is new business. Do we have any new business?
At this time, I don't have any new business for the planning commission. I've heard a lot of different things. So I am anticipating some applications coming in the early part of 2024. One of them would be for the Space Age gas station. They're looking to add some additional pumps to the gas station there. It could be a little tricky with the maneuverability of that lot. So it'll be interesting to see how they address that. We still hear things that the excavation company is still going to develop the property next to the public works property. But again, I've not heard anything or seen anything. I've heard that we may see a car wash down on the Highland property adjacent to McDonald's there. That's been kicked around a little bit, so maybe that one will come in. And I believe Far West is getting close to resolving their wetland issues for that northern 10 acres there along West Union. So it's possible that they could come in with an application in 2024 as well.
Okay, any questions? Hearing none. We'll move on to item number 9 is the land use applications in the city project monthly report. Any questions or comments on those? And also with that is item C is the planning commission business calendar. Hearing none. We'll move on to item number 10, planning commission comments. Any comments from the planning commission? Anything for city council?
Well, you missed the monthly update.
No, I said that.
Oh, I thought you just said land use applications.
No, I said and monthly updates. And then added C.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Just a question on the staff report for the city council for wait, now where did I read it? Maybe it wasn't that section. The property on Gordon,
What was that?
the property on Gordon. Was that in here?
I think so. They're using it for
Oh,
multiple
business
purposes.
on the corner of
business,
Gordon and North.
Gordon North.
Right, and I kind of,
And they're also stockpiling dirt or something.
We have gone around and around with him.
and this property is kind of unique in the sense that when it partitioned, and I don't remember what year it was partitioned, if you remember, Stuart. They had, they weren't required to connect to city services. And now that they've had an additional property line adjustment, and now they're having possible land use issues, I'm just wondering if they're connected to city services yet, because that is supposed to be a requirement to develop in the city.
There's
All
an
that-
easement going through those 6 lots that were split off of there. There's an easement going over to Wasco for services.
For services,
Yeah.
right? But after they did the lot line adjustment and stuff, I'm thinking, well, gosh, is there septic even on their lot anymore? Where's their drain field for their water, or, you know, for their-
As far as the vacant lot goes, that'll be addressed when it gets developed. We'll make sure that it's connected to all the services. As you know, I wasn't here when the partition took place, so I'm not sure exactly what happened there. I do understand that they're not on city water though right now.
So what actually triggers that then?
But the partition should have triggered it. It should have been a requirement. That's enough of a impact that we could have made that request that they connect. The only thing that may have prevented it could have been the distance. For example, if you are on a septic system and your septic system fails and you have a sewer line within 300 feet of your property, you are required to extend the line and connect to a sewer. I'm not sure where that line could have been at the time for them if they're on a septic right now. It could have been over 300 feet.
I don't remember how far the south.
I don't think there's a sewer line in Gordon. I think it would have been coming from
The
north.
sewer lines in Wasco, that's less than 300 feet away from the.
That's right. That's what that easement was
That's
for.
what the easement.
Correct, correct.
Was that all there when the partition reported? That wasn't there though, right?
Not when they partitioned, because that was the second partition. The first partition was to pull off the 6 lots as one, and they added it to the part of the subdivision. But there wasn't required to the easement, so they could put hookups to Wasco Street.
So if the city, if we didn't enforce the requirements to hook up to city services when the partition recorded, at what point would that trigger come?
Well, if they're still on septic and their system fails, that would be a trigger.
But I mean, if the property owner did anything, that there's no triggers to the property owner then unless there's a failure of their current system.
That's correct. I mean, I wouldn't have the ability to force them to do that without it failing. If they have I mean, again, it sounds like there were some errors possibly back when the land was being divided up.
Well,
So even doing a property line adjustment, things like that, when they come in for application, that doesn't trigger.
There's just there's no impact from a property line adjustment. They're not triggering any impacts.
Oh, so somebody reviewed the partition then to make sure that the drainage field and septic were not within the partition or the old lot line area?
Again, I wasn't here, so I haven't gone through that file
don't-
to get the history.
yeah, I'm not sure if they'd be required because it's not an easement. Unless they created the easement, they would have needed to create the easement if they partitioned and had this drain field on the other parcel. That would have been a requirement of the partition, but since they didn't identify it, that probably went through. So if they partitioned it and their septic system or drain field is on the other part and it gets developed, then they're gonna have to do something because they probably don't have an easement.
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, if their drain field needs to be on their property.
Yeah.
If it's not, there would have to be an
Well,
easement
unless
on
they
the
have
adjacent
easement,
property,
yeah.
correct, and I didn't see, nothing was
And it should be on the plot.
brought up on any of their information that they shared with me, that there was a drain field or a reserve area on the undeveloped portion of the property. Again, until something fails at this point, I don't have any leverage or a trigger that I can go after them. Now, in regards to the use on the property, we do have concerns about that. We have concerns for several reasons. One, it is a home occupation, and they're operating outside of our administrative home occupation standards, which we went over with them. And 2, they are placing material in a floodplain area, which we have concerns about. And we have been in conversations with them. Unfortunately, this has been a difficult person to get to stop doing these things. So we're probably going to have to start using fines or something like that to get their attention.
When it comes to infill in flood zone areas, does does Clean Water Services get involved in that, or is there another agency?
Well, I mean, if they were to come forward and say they wanted to present a fill application to put fill into a wetland, into a floodplain, it would first come to us and then we would send out notice. They would also have to work with the state a little bit on that. So none of that has been brought forward. And we've asked them to remove all the material that they've put on that property back to the finished grade elevation. So there's no downstream or upstream impacts from high water. And I seem to get one step forward and 2 steps back with this person. They almost seem like they live in the county because they're on our edge over there, and they utilize their property kind of like a county property would, where people tend to have their construction equipment, their businesses operating out of their 2.5 acre properties and whatnot. And so we're trying to remind him that we know you're on the edge, but you are in the city and it is a residential zone, and you need to kind of pay attention to that. So unfortunately, it's been a tough go.
Any other comments? Okay. So back to planning commission comments. Just want to bring up the point that Commissioner Nunnenkamp resigned from his position. There was some miscommunication, but ultimately his position would have been, he would not have been able to reapply because the code was changed in January of 2023 to only allow 2 at-large positions, and we already have those 2 filled. I sent an email to him and said that he could apply next year and would appreciate it if he did that. But as of now, he was not eligible to apply. So he chose to resign. So I just wanted to thank him for his services. I know he'd been on the planning commission almost as long as I had. I think he started shortly after I did. There was a time when he was off because the city council decided not to have any at-large positions at one point, and then it was opened up by a previous manager to have more than 2, and that's where he got caught into that new code change. So it was the first person to term expired that was gonna not be able to reapply. So just wanted to thank Mr. Nunnenkamp for all his services. So anything from the city council?
Nothing.
Okay. Any staff comments?
Thank you for acknowledging Doug. I appreciate you doing that. One of the things we're working on for the planning commission is we want to get you more recognition for your service. And so we're working on creating some certificates to acknowledge you on the front end and acknowledge you when your service is done. So we've been working on those, and we'll try and get Doug some of those as well to let him know we appreciate what he did for the city. But other than that, I've kind of shared everything I have with you already in the old business and new business.
Okay, great.
Remind me about the dinner Monday night.
Oh, yes, thank you. There is a dinner Monday night at the city council meeting. So we encourage you all to show up. It'll be a little holiday celebration. So if you don't have anything going on Monday night, please come and join us. Thank you.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Do we have a beaver dam down there?
We do.
Again,
A beaver dam? I've heard of, I've never seen
I
it,
mean, it flooded.
but I understand that there is one down there.
We tear it down.
Back up like,
Yeah, we go in and dig it out, and 4 months later, they build it back up, and we go down and dig it out again, and
to that street, and it was over 2 feet deep the other day.
Yeah.
So you can see it doesn't go down, so it has to be at the railway again.
Right.
And he, Mr. Beaver, was on over by the water tank the other day when I drove by.
Oh, you saw him?
Yeah, so he's there.
yeah,
Okay,
as
okay.
Well,
Yeah.
Bucky
Bucky the
Is
Beaver.
it Bucky or Penny? I couldn't remember, yeah.
But we're back.
In fact, at one point, we were working with Clean Water Services to help us find a way so they couldn't rebuild. We don't want you to rebuild. They haven't had any luck.
Yep.
Can they
And just so you know, he's doing it
I
without
think they
permits.
did relocate him once. I don't know. I think we'd have to relocate him to Wyoming because they just keep finding their way back here.
Yeah, he's operating without permits, just so you know.
Damn, Bill, he's an engineer.
He does
Yeah.
not have our approval for any of this.
Got a very good
Yeah.
structure, but-
Yeah, yeah. He's ignored all of our cease and desist letters.
Hey, well, if there's no other planning commission business, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We will see you next year. Our next regular meeting will be January the 10th at 7, and we'll have a workshop at 6 o'clock. So anything else? We're adjourned at 7:25.
Perfect.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Kai. for
Merry Christmas,
jumping
guys.
on.
Yep, appreciate you jumping on.
Yep. Bye.